Hello, good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to Lawrbit's Logical Talk 26. Thank you so much for showing your trust on us and coming back every month to hear some new speakers, some new ideas, some new topics. Uh, Today, we are bringing you a very, very exciting topic, something which I'm personally very excited about. I am very closely watching this. And so as a choice of our speakers, I'm sure there's a lot for us to learn from them today. But before I jump on to discuss the topic today, we will do our customary introduction, but I'm sure by now you would exactly know what I'm going to say. So, but I'll still repeat it for the sake of sounding repetitive. So quickly about Lawrbit. As you all know, we are a leading regulatory technology company based out of India, and we provide regulatory compliance technology and solutions which are integrated with global regulatory intelligence. Today, our teams are serving more than 70 plus countries. They have done projects in 70 plus countries. Uh, our solutions are designed to meet the requirement of a small startup to a very, very large enterprise with global footprints, wherein the regulatory intelligence which comes integrated with the software gets updated on a real-time basis as and when the changes are happening in the law. Our team of lawyers, they analyze every single notification, every single page of law, which gets notified from the regulator, make a sense for you, put them into your obligation registers, and help you understand how it is impacting the compliances which are applicable on your business. Today, we have more than 450 plus clients which we are serving across the globe. We have more than 3,000 plus entities, locations mapped, and 15,000 plus users are using our technology across the globe. Um, we also have other solutions like legal matter management, enterprise risk management, and all. And I'm sure you all who have been watching us would have seen some of my emailers which would have gone to you, or LinkedIn, or social media platforms. Where we announced our partnership with Swiss GRC a few months ago. Uh, Swiss GRC was a partnership with Swiss GRC was a very strategic partnership for us because uh, it stems with our belief that globally the technology has to meet the legal minds in a manner that it makes knowing and tracking the regulatory intelligence or legal changes, uh, simplified. It helps know the laws and track those in a simplified manner. So that's where this partnership came in. Swiss GRC has a very robust GRC platform, which has been offered to the Fortune 500 companies globally, and they have clients across the world. Uh, the way we have envisaged this partnership, you will get some hints of the same, how it is designed to meet your futuristic requirement and the changing requirements as well. So while selling your technology, knowing is not the objective of the discussion. The objective of the discussion today is to help you understand the cyber resilience practices, processes, challenges, how the developing countries, where the concept of data protection, cyber resilience came much before it came in India. How are they handling these challenges? What kind of a processes, technology they're using to keep themselves compliant and keep a track of, the cyber uh, security and the data protection within the organization, how they are preparing their organization to meet the challenges. With this, I want to introduce you to our speaker for today. I have with me Mr. Rajeev Dutt. Rajeev comes with more than 30 plus years of experience of uh, global experience. Spent more than 25 years. Rajeev, correct me if I'm wrong. Spent more than 25 years in
Absolutely.
Dubai, now. So now, Rajeev, I'm going through your profile. So when I was, um, I had not seen the computer. You are doing, some advanced programs in technology. So yeah, so Rajiv. has been working specifically in the GRC domain for more than 13 years now. Uh, he has worked with some of the leading organizations, and today he is General Manager, MEA and APAC for Swiss GRC based out of Dubai. And he brings with himself a lot of experience of working with some of the Fortune 500 companies globally, helping them set up their cyber resilience practices and automating the entire framework through the technology. Understand the challenges in and out. It's very interesting when he speaks, the kind of experience he brings it. Rajiv, exciting to hear your thoughts and what you bring on the table today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Rajiv. And along with Rajiv, I have Lagna Panda. She is a partner with the ABN Partners Advocates. Lagna comes with more than 13 years of experience in competitive law and data-related matters. So she's an author of a lot of articles on AI in competitive law. And Lagna was, when I was actually going through your profile before this discussion, I wanted to I asked you this AI in competitive law. This is a combination. I think we need to do a separate webinar on that sometime because that's an interesting combination.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And having both of them on the panel today, idea is because when you're talking about cyber resilience, there are laws, there are regulators who are expecting us to put these frameworks in place. What do they expect from us? What are the global practices? How we can incorporate them into our practice in our organization, and what kind of challenges we may have. For today's discussion, I would be, I would request if you all can be, active in terms of if you have any thoughts in asking thoughts, feel free to ask them anytime. I will be more looking at the chat box and trying to understand what your thoughts are so that we will try and address them during the discussions also. So let's start with our discussion today. I'm now going to set the agenda. I'm handing over directly to Rajiv to take it from here. Rajiv, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening from anywhere you're joining in. So seeing this picture, what do you think? How many people would have survived this aircraft crash? Right? How many people survived it? This was an accident which happened in Japan on the runway. And how many deaths happened in this accident? Can you click, please? Can you go ahead? There was 0 death in this accident. The reason being this happened in Japan, and they have a culture called gammon. What does that mean? It shows how patience, perseverance, and resilience in difficult situation plays around. How are you prepared? How do you behave? How do you react when something comes and hits you? And that's the reason they had all these 3 things which result in a zero life. So you can see from the pictures how bad the accident was, but no lives were lost in this. So that takes us from it is resilience, how resilient enough you are, and you make your organization resilient enough to come from adverse situations or situations which could be man-made or natural. How are you prepared and how you come out of that? So that's what is, I wanted to mention that out here. We'll proceed further. Now, these are the global trends which I have captured to give you an idea from the last year, from the current year, and what is expected to come and hit you in the next 3 years. So if you can see it, cyber, business continuity, your climate change, regulatory changes, regulatory landscape changes, these are all common. They are in the top 4, top 5 in the previous, current, and also in the next 3 years, it's going to be constant on it. So you should be aware and you should be proactively thinking on this risk segments, how prepared you are and how your organizations are prepared to tackle if this kind of risk comes and hit you. We'll proceed. Now, I'm also trying to give you not only from an India perspective, I'm trying to give you a perspective from a global perspective from different regions across the globe. you can still see that, again, what I mentioned, cyber, business continuity, human capital, and market changing situations, regulatory change are in the top, and it is in the red zone. So this are highlighted area per industry, per verticals, and you can see that how important this risk are. So you should be seriously looking into it and be getting proactively prepared for that. And since we are in a world where the lot of tariff wars are going on, actual wars, invasions are going on, so what it happens? What is the geopolitical scenario for 2025? Again, I have circled it. What are the top risk which you are looking from a geopolitical for the year 25, and which are the industries which are going to be affected? And certainly, red means it's a high alert, so you should be looking into it. Again, supply chain, asset infrastructure is going to be very important. Though I was reading also today, it's a ceasefire has happened, but the cyber attack warfare is going to be much, much more aggressive now. So you should be preparing for it. And then regulatory and tax environment. Again, regulatory change is something which is coming across, and we are seeing so much of regulatory changes coming in across the globe, be it Europe, be it the Middle East, be it Asia Pacific. So much regulatory changes are coming in. You need to be prepared for that, and so on. So just wanted to give you an idea from a geopolitical risk perspective for 2025 also. Now, here I've tried to put in is the 10 key regulatory challenges. As Jyant mentioned, from the regulatory landscape perspective, we anticipate, we did a lot of surveys, and this is also coming in from KPMG. They said in 2025 years is going to see a regulatory shift across areas of your technology risk, data risk, consumer investor protection is going to be key, risk management, and governance. So you see how much governance is going to be playing an important role. And how do you manage risk? Because risk, now you have to have a 360-degree view of the risk. You can't see risk in silos. You have to see from an organization, from all aspects, the risk you will have to see. If you're not looking at from a 360-degree view, something can come and hit you if you're not looking in from that. So proactively, all the aspects of the risk, you will have to look into it. Moving forward. So reality, cyber attack, data breaches, they are enough story about it, but I just wanted to tell you, people ask, some of them are still in myth, oh, we cannot be getting affected. It's not if you are attacked, it's when you know about it. While we are talking, Trojans, malwares could be inside in your systems already existing. People at times, they enter into your system, try to understand everything, and then they plan what they want to do it. So they are checking into your vulnerabilities, and many of the organization where they look into their threats, you will have best of the SIM solutions in your system, and those systems will be throwing you vulnerabilities and threat. What will be your focus? What is my top high vulnerabilities? Let me look into it. Your focus will be on that. And if you're ignoring the lower threat probabilities, the hackers will use the lower threat probability and take that into it and enter into your systems and do an attack or whatever they plan to do it. So that's what it is. In spite of the tools, there are various tools which tell you what is the impact, how many attacks are going on into your systems across the globe. You can see you have tools which give you this information. This is enough. This is enough of it. I've put in some India things which came in Star Health data breach and threat which happened in 25 in India. You know about it. The dance of Hillary malware spread, which is from an adversary neighboring country which did an attack on India. That's called the dance of Hillary. They are trying to put in malware into the systems. And also the other Indian asset management cyber attacks. It's just, and globally, you have heard all of this attacks in April this year, on 28th of April, if I'm not mistaken, Portugal and Spain was cut out from the European electricity grid itself. So the whole country went into power darkness. Everything was shut. Everything was shut. And no name dark website guys claim they have done the attack, and they disconnected the entire country and put the countries into total darkness. So this is what is going on. So this is ever going to happen. There's no dearth. There's enough of reasoning, So you see in your lens what's going on. You see wars. You will see war escalation situations. You see tariff wars coming in. Data breaches are common. Cyber crimes are common. As I showed you, the attacks nowadays, you need not even attack a country, sitting somewhere in the world. You can just disrupt the country. And AI, in a good part as well as in a non-good part, it can affect you and it can play in some dangerous thing. It is really scary if not used and not put controls on AI. It can do something really serious on that. So this is all in your lens, which you can see it. And this is what I want to again tell you. This is what is saying. They are saying cost of an application failure per hour is between 0.5 to 1 million. We are talking about 560 more disastrous events to happen by 2030. And 40% of the business do not reopen post a natural disaster. If you are not proactively planned, if you don't have a resiliency program plan in place, you are not going to recover from an impact, right? And average cost of a cyber disruption is 6 million. And you don't even know when data breaches happen in big organizations, within 10 minutes, the ransom money is paid out because nobody wants any negative news to happen. So instantly the ransom amount is paid. And then again, they have a myth, oh, we have been attacked, we have paid money, now we won't be attacked again. But though they are again vulnerable, we have seen companies again getting attacked and again paying the ransom money. So this is quite scary, and this is coming in from the statistics is also from ENY. You can please proceed. So what are we saying? All this is happening around, but still I don't want to open an eye, because if I don't see it, it doesn't exist for me, right? So I don't have to have plan for it. So this is what is a little bit scary. If you still don't consider it, still don't look into it, it can come and hit you. So this is what I'm saying is be proactive, look in from all the aspects. As I told you, your risk is moving, risk is evolving, and you need a lot of data-driven risk management. Now, this is what even the Gartner is predicting, how you're going to do your risk assessments and monitoring, how you're going to manage your policy management, third-party management, third-party risk management, your vendor risk management, how do you manage program improvement testing and review, analysis and remediation, and underlying misconduct. How do you manage that? How it's going to change over the time? What are the shifts going to be, which I have mentioned, from high level to granular, from one size fits, it's going to be tailored, manual to shared, investment to continuous, and from backward looking, you were looking at for predictive analysis also. So this is all what is changing. This is all what the landscape are changing. Risk is changing, and you have to have a data-driven risk management also to manage the risk in your organizations out here. That's a very important aspect out here, which you should be looking how risks are evolving, how data is driving your risk management shifts within your organizations.
Rajiv, here I just want to also drive one. I also want to drive one point. While you were talking, so while you were talking about risk, cyber risk, well, I keep talking to a lot of people, and sometimes we have a myth. Oh, I'm not an IT company. I'm a manufacturing company, so it's not as big a risk for me. What we are also realizing now, even if it's a car, you're a car manufacturer, you have still your core is all the number of sensors and number of automations, the connectivity, it's there in your car. It can be hacked. And if you are a supplier to a car manufacturer, you are building your technology, you're building your components to that, to take care of their requirements. Today, no organization, and somehow, we are moving to a world where every organization have something or the other online. from the customer facing perspective. So having if I'm a CISO in a manufacturing company, I still have to think what are the loopholes for me. Maybe you're not the when Rajiv mentioned that this a war that is a time of global wars, and the global wars. I was talking to an expert some time ago. uh, he's talking. He said the wars are already started. He's going to an extent. They're saying this may be for 50 years from now, maybe called as the world war, and the war may have already started because it doesn't start with you throwing a missile. It may start with you throwing killing the data, killing the economy first, creating an anarchy first. So you may not be the direct attack. You may not be the one who is to be attacked, but you may be a part of supply chain or somebody bigger. As Rajiv mentioned, the low hanging and the low risk, things would be taken down. Imagine I'm a, I'm a steering manufacturer for a large automotive company, and I am, my operation can be shut down. If it happens to me, my OEM would automatically get impacted. My car manufacturer will get impacted. So the supply chain today is so well connected. You don't know why you are at threat. You don't know, sometimes don't know the importance of your own business, how important it is in the complete supply chain. So I think it's this cyber resilience as a subject is for everyone. And maybe I also, and Lagna, I also want to hear your thought, when you're talking about cyber resilience, what comes and what a misconception when you are talking to a lot of people, what you see and how you approach as a starting point for a cyber resilience, as Rajiv is talking about data driven. What's your thoughts here?
Right, right. So, Jayant, I completely agree with you. When we talk about cybersecurity and cyber resilience, we have to be sector agnostic because the the attacks are not something that are targeted towards certain sectors or certain industries. Although certain critical infrastructure, for example, healthcare, energy, they because of the nature of the product or service or good they provide, uh, they have a certain value in the ecosystem, and which is why they are classified as critical, and certain additional measures and steps are typically taken to ensure that the security systems and protocols are of very high standard. But that does not mean that other companies, entities operating in different sectors and industries do not consider cybersecurity, do not consider cyber threats seriously. Because these are, as Rajiv, I think, very nicely put out very, very relevant facts, where he talked about some of the recent attacks that have happened. It is a reality that we have to live with now, and it is something we can no longer ignore. We cannot take the ostrich approach where if we just put our head into the ground, it's going to go away. It is not going to go away. It is here and it is here to stay. And I think we need to also be mindful of the fact that with AI, the nature of cyber threat, the nature of cyber incidents are also the nature is also evolving. We are going to see new kinds of incidents coming up, which are very different from maybe ransomware, very different from maybe simple hacking. So the responses also have to be, so our responses, our mitigation steps, our detection mechanisms also have to evolve accordingly. So those are my 2 cents, to your question on what my initial thoughts are on where we stand on cyber threats and cybersecurity.
Yep.
So
Yep.
thank you so much, Raji, for setting such a great context for everyone who is attending this webinar. I think at least I don't know about others, but I am definitely more mindful of the kind of risks that we are subjecting ourselves to every time we open any information system, any computer system. And from a legal perspective, as a lawyer, what I want to highlight today is what are some of the legal and regulatory requirements and prescriptions. Now, before going into the regulatory requirements, what I want to talk about is what happens if you don't comply. What happens, if there are certain cybersecurity regulations and legal requirements, what happens if you don't comply? So, of course, in case of non-compliance, there'll be provisions on penalty. There'll be, a regulator can maybe impose fines for non-compliance, but that is a very small part of the consequence. The bigger problem is if you don't comply, is that you're subjecting yourself to financial loss, you're subjecting yourself to loss of trade secrets and other proprietary information. There is likelihood of downtime which can go on for very long, which can again, result in business loss. And of course, the loss of trust that can happen because once consumers, your vendors, any of your trading partners, customers, when they hear about any kind of cyber incident that has happened, they may be hesitant in dealing with you in future because their data, their trade secret, their proprietary information might also be vulnerable. So so it's not just about complying, it's also about protecting and preserving your business information, your customer information. Right. So just to talk a little bit about what are the laws that we are looking at, which when we talk about cybersecurity. Now in India, at least there is no central law or there's no law at the union level which sets out that these are the cybersecurity norms and requirements that every organization has to deploy and comply with. There are a few regulations and laws, and there are some very sector-specific laws and regulations that basically touch upon the area of cybersecurity. One is, of course, there's the certain guideline, which is guidelines that were issued by the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, or the CERTIN in 2002, which provides for the 6 hour, which provides for a 6 hour reporting requirement for cyber incidents, where reporting has to be done to the CERTIN. And there are some other legal requirements as well. For example, maintaining ICT logs for at least 180 days, so on and so forth. There's the dpdpa, which is the new comprehensive data protection law that India has brought in, although it is yet to be implemented. But the DPDPA requires that data fiduciaries must employ reasonable security measures to ensure that personal data is protected. Now, apart from these laws, there are a lot of sectoral regulations. For example, you have SEBI, which comes out with regulations for capital market participants. You have RBI, which issues regulations for financial market participants, IRDAI, which governs insurance agencies. So these sectoral regulators have come out with regulations setting out various cybersecurity requirements, cybersecurity frameworks that the participants have to comply with. Now, this is basically to set the context for India. Outside India, of course, I mean, if you talk about Europe, you have the NIS 2, which is a directive which provides for a detailed framework setting out what sort of how and what incident reporting has to happen, what kind of information sharing must happen, and what is the broad framework for enforcement in case of any cyber incident. And the framework basically governs 18 critical sectors in the European Union, which includes energy, healthcare, digital infrastructure. Moving to the US, just like India, does not really have any federal law which sets out cybersecurity compliance requirements. However, there are some federal laws, just like the Information Technology Act in India, which identify what kind of conduct, what kind of acts can be regarded as offenses, and enforcement action can be taken against such acts. There are certain state level laws in the US on cybersecurity frameworks, particularly in the context of data protection laws. So a lot of states have now come up with data protection laws like the SHIELD Act in New York. Again, similar to the DPDPA in India, they prescribe that the equivalent of data fiduciaries must implement reasonable security measures to ensure that the personal data that they process remains protected. So this is broadly the framework within which Indian companies and multinational companies have to operate in. And when you're thinking about cybersecurity or designing any cybersecurity policy or program for your organization, if the businesses operate beyond the boundaries of India, or they process data of individuals who are not residents of India, who are not based in India, or you interact or deal with trading partners which are not Indian, then these regulations of the EU and the US also become relevant, because in case of any non-compliance, they subject you to fines. They can be additional directions issued. There can be other actions that the regulators in other countries can take if there has been business loss of any entity which is based out of their country and is your trading partner. So this is broadly the legal context when it comes to cybersecurity. Right. Now, what can you do? I mean, what is the when you go about designing a
So,
cybersecurity? Yeah.
Lagna, sorry
Yes,
to
yes.
interrupt you between. So
Sure.
while you're on this slide, best practices, can you also give a perspective both from a larger organization perspective or an enterprise and a small SMB as also? So there's a specific question on it. Uh, we are an SMB, smaller budget. How do I ensure we can protect our, or we can put the required measures and security measures in place? So I think if you could, on this slides, specifically try and deal with both scenarios.
Right, right. So for a SMB, there can be, I mean, there are lots of steps that you can take to make sure that you're protecting yourself. You are ensuring that you're taking all steps possible to prevent cybersecurity incidents. For example, making sure that all your employees change their passwords regularly. Every computer system that is used, any information system that is used within your network, the software, the firmware, everything remains updated. Every individual is aware of what sort of links are not to be clicked on, because it can be malware, it can be a virus. So these are certain steps. It's about educating the people who work in your organization. I think that is the most important step, because a lot of these cybersecurity incidents happen because of lack of awareness and knowledge. Employees are not aware, or the personnel working in your organization are not aware that this is something that can be problematic, that can be dangerous for the organization. So ensuring that people who work with you know that this is something they should do, these are some of the basic steps that they can take to ensure that they are protecting the organization and themselves from cybersecurity incidents. I think that's something that is very important for SMBs. From When we talk about larger organizations do, of course, have the resources to do a lot of real-time activities, such as real-time monitoring of their systems and everything, which maybe SMBs cannot do. I think a lot of the work, a lot of the processing, a lot of the detection tends to be manual. So it's only after an incident has taken place, maybe they become aware that something of this nature has happened, which is why it's important to engage with your employees and to tell them the do's and don'ts. Um, of course, employing very strong security measures across all layers is very important. It's if you, for example, having a Wi-Fi, something as simple as having a Wi-Fi, you have to make sure that there are adequate protections, adequate safeguards that are deployed by your organization to make sure that the Wi-Fi does not get hacked. At every level, be it at Wi-Fi level, be it at system level, every individual that is accessing network should make sure that the firewall is active, that is a basic step that employees can take to make sure that the antiviruses are not outdated, they're regularly updated, they're switched on, the firewalls are switched on. So these are some steps that every organization, every employee can take to make sure they are able to prevent cybersecurity incidents. And at an organization level, it's important to have certain policies in place to make sure that everybody knows what needs to be done when everybody knows what needs to be done when a cybersecurity incident happens, and also what are the do's and don'ts for them as employees, as stakeholders of an organization. So of course, the IT department is well aware what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, but your sales department, people who are not that uh, conversant with IT systems, IT tools, may not be aware. And it is, I think, a very good idea to set out on paper that these are the things you need to be mindful of, and these are the steps that you can take. Having an incident response plan is very important, especially for larger organization, because after an incident has happened, it is very difficult then to take accountability. It is very difficult to understand and figure out what should be the reporting structure, what should be the reporting mechanism. So if there's already a policy in place which identifies the individual who's supposed to take charge of how the reporting system should work, how the reporting mechanism should work, I think that's a great document to have in place for larger organization. It's it's always a good idea to make sure that you are reviewing and auditing all your existing security protocols and standards. And again, in your security policy, identifying in case of a cyber incident, what are the remediation steps, what are the remedial steps that you can take to sort of fix the problem that has happened. Can we?
I just want to add one thing on the previous slide. See, I don't know what I was watching, but I heard I was watching something, and I heard this statement. I said, "You sweat in peace, and you win in the wars." Right? I think the same practice happens. Is applicable on the cybersecurity. Um, you put the right systems in place, you put the right process in place, you do the right testings while there is nothing happening around. Moment you become overconfident, movement from whichever function, whichever team member we start hearing, oh, I know it, मैंने पढ़ा हुआ है, अभी मुझे जरूरत नहीं है, I don't need to refresh it. That's when the real threats start coming in, because that's when somebody is getting, is taking it lightly. The threat can come from anywhere. We just saw a small war-like situation between India and Pakistan. We suddenly saw missiles and drones coming from different parts of the border. If the S400 was not working at that point of time, it would have been disastrous for us as a country. So the security has to work all the time. And was the organization not taking, was the country were not taking it, doing the drills? The people in the war rooms, they were doing the drills. They were testing the systems all throughout. That's when it was needed the most. It worked out. So I think this cynicism has to be there in terms of anything can happen at any point of time to anyone. Nobody's safe, nobody's secured in the current scenarios. The cyber security, because cyber wars, cyber attacks, they are the reality of life. It can happen to any individual also. We have hearing a lot of scenarios, a lot of stories of old age couple, old age people, 80s, and they're losing crores of money because they clicked on the wrong link. Some unknown mails can come and land anywhere. All of these things that are happening in this scenario. Implementing these best practices, knowing them, implementing it, and creating an awareness of it, that's the only thing which we can do to safeguard ourselves.
Just to add in out here, I think the question which somebody raised is also interesting. Irrespective of a smaller organization or a bigger organization, we have taken the initiative to offer solutions, because one part is people, one part is technology, other is the culture. You bring in the cyber culture, you train people, but then unless the organization doesn't have tools to monitor and do things, it's never ever going to happen one way. Just have taking people to a courses on cyber, you should not do this, you should not do that. That's good enough, but then the organization needs tools and pieces which can do that, monitor them, and can handle those situations. So we help you on that, and we have some special pricing offers for the India markets. After understanding the complexity and the challenges, we offer that to address that aspect also.
So, under the, as I was mentioning, under the data protection law that is yet to be implemented in India, there are certain requirements that have been put in place. One is significant data fiduciaries. There will be entities that are likely to be designated as significant data fiduciaries. They are required to appoint someone called a data protection officer. All data fiduciaries, basically, data fiduciaries are organizations that are deciding how personal data will be collected and stored and processed and transferred. So, if as an organization you are deciding, you are collecting personal data, you are deciding how it should be stored, how it is supposed to be transferred, how it is supposed to be shared, then you are a data fiduciary. So you have the obligation to have a breach, to establish, to have within your organization mechanisms and reporting structure in case of breaches and incidents. Again, if you are designated as a significant data fiduciary, then you'll also have the obligation to conduct data protection impact assessments, and also maintain records of data processing and consent. Now, ensuring vendor and third party compliance is again something that is an obligation of data fiduciary entirely, which basically means that if you are collecting personal data of any individual and you're sharing it with your vendor, because you basically a manufacturer of goods, and an organization like delivery or porter, or any other courier service provider, maybe it's a small product, is taking that product and delivering it to the consumer. And in order to facilitate that, you're providing name, address, phone number of the customer uh, to that courier service provider. Now, since you are the data fiduciary, if there is any uh, shortcoming on the part of the courier service provider because of which there's a data breach, then the legal obligation is on the data fiduciary, that the breach, the responsibility of the breach that happened, the accountability falls on the data fiduciary. Now, in terms of you may have separate contracts with the courier service provider that may allow you to, take action against the service provider. But under law, the customer can legally initiate an action, file the legal action against the data fiduciary. So any organization that is collecting personal data, storing personal data, must make sure that if they are sharing that personal data with any third party, that third party is also employing tools, is making sure that its security protocols are sufficient, are reasonable, are adequate. So the responsibility is on data fiduciary. I think that is my last slide.
Yeah, I'll just like to can you
Yes,
just go back
thank you.
on the previous slide? Just wanted to emphasize here, you can see how the complexities are coming within an organization. Now you have to look risk from so many aspects. From a data privacy protection perspective, you have to see risk from your vendor side of it. Vendor risk management comes into it. You need to look at from the information security, cyber security part of it. And I'll just give you a simple example. How do you manage all that in an organization? You have to follow the DPDP regulation. Suppose you're having an operation in UK, you're having an operation in France or Germany, you need to be compliant with the UK data privacy regulation. and the German regulation, right? GDPR, over that, the GDPR, because each of the European countries had to follow GDPR. Apart from that, they have their local regulation. I'll give you a simple example just to put in, which will give you a clarity how tools can help you out here. If you're doing your salary processing, which every organization does it, either you could be doing it in-house or you would have outsourced those to some companies or legal firms doing that, right? Now, what happens? First, who is processing the salaries get all the information of the employees. So they know Rajiv, what is the salary, what is Rajiv's bank details. They have all my Aadhaar card details, passport details, so on. Now, now my company is giving insurance to me and my family. So they get access to my family's information. They get their date of birth, passport details, Aadhaar card details. They get that information. So the HR guys knows all about this. The finance guys knows about it because they are paying the money. So in my company, they already know this information, right? Now you take in, if you're processing it to a third party and who's processing this salary, he gets all this information. Now you're deducting tax at source, and then you have to report it to the government. So all this information of Rajiv goes to the government also. How are you going to manage it? Where the breaches happen? What information is shared? And if an employee of yours leaves, Rajiv leaves the company and says, guys, remove all the information which you are storing. Now with the DPDP Act, I can ask that organization to do it. If I ask a subject access request to delete that information, within X number of days, they have to delete and report it back to me. So it could be your customer, it could be your vendor who can come and say, boss, remove every information of mine. So first you should know where is Rajiv's information stored in the company. It could be in various systems, various applications, various tools. I should be able to identify that. Now, you're talking about DPI, data protection impact assessment. How do you do that? How do you know what is an impact if a data breach happens? What is my terms, technical organization measures which I'm doing it? How am I doing it? If I have multiple organization, in this example, I said you have an office in UK and Germany. If they are accessing your information, logging into your system and accessing information from their India data center or German data center, then there is a transfer impact assessment. How do you manage that? What is the risk for all of that? So this all comes in unless you don't use a tool or an application which can help you out in this and give you a larger picture of the risk, you will be in deep trouble, and these regulations are going to be very, very strong. Jayant, correct me. I think the data breach laws of India currently has mentioned a very, very high penalty if there is a data breach. It is running into crores, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, hundreds of crores that I will talk about digital DPDP Act. Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Yes, it can
Absolutely.
go
So
up to 250 crores.
250 crores. So it's, and this is just the start. After a year of the rules coming in, the regulators in India are going to show the teeth. They are going to implement it in a very, very hard way. So better start preparing for it. Next, please. Right. So these are the pillars of RBI, which is talking about how do you build your resilience? How do you build your program? Right. So I've tried to identify some green areas and blue area where culture, people, know-how should be there, culture in the organization should be there, and then the technology can help you out here. So you need a governance risk culture. Actually, it should be top down. If it is bottom up in the organization, it's not going to be work. Nowadays, even cyber is being reported not to the CEO, it is reported at the board level. So if you have that culture, it works beautifully. And then we are talking about, responsibility of the board, directors, CEOs, what they are looking in for it. And then you need tools for reporting, monitoring. You like, how do you manage risk? How do you do risk assessment? How is the risk moving over a period of time? You need to look in what are the change management, because so much of every now and then you are talking about digital transformation. We are doing digital transformation. So many technologies are being adopted and so many changes are coming in. How are you incorporating, coping with that? Because before anything settles down, there is a new technology, new project already started. How do you manage that? So you need absolutely proper tools to manage that. Controls and mitigation has to be there for your risk. You need to have a business impact analysis. You need to have your business continuity plan in place. You need mapping. How do I link mapping to different areas? I need to know what are my critical process. Unless I know my critical process, 70-30 usually it is. 30 are non-critical. If a crisis comes, I should bring up my 70%, which are my critical process. Because if I bring my critical process, somehow I'm operational. But if I ignore critical process and I run after processes which are non-critical and I try to bring them up, it's going to be disaster. You're not going to be up and running. So you need to know that. And that's the reason your tool, which can tell you, okay, my SAP I'm running, if this is down, it is going to impact my different regions, different processes, different areas. And I know, so it becomes my critical thing to bring it up first. So you have to identify, and this all can happen if you're using a tool. Similarly, your information security. What is my IT policies? What is my DR? What is my backup plan? How am I going to do it? How have I exercised it? Okay, so on a paper, you will make a great plan. If something happens, I'm going to put my system down and bring it up. And I mentioned in the paper, I will do it in 4 hours time. Have you ever tested it? Have you tried to come on a Sunday, put every system down and bring it up and check how much time it takes? You will realize instead of 4 hours, it took you 12 hours. So you'll at least come to know where are the gaps, you will improve upon it. And next time when you're doing that exercise, you will certainly improve upon it. But any plan you made it on the paper and it is not tested, take it in writing. It's going to be a disaster. It's not going to be working in a crisis situation. And learn and adapt, as Lagna was mentioning. You need to train people, bring in the culture, and to on. So these are the 3 pillars which has been put in to build an resiliency program. And this is coming in from RBI. This is the RBI's note, guidance note on how do you build a resiliency program.
So I go back to the previous slide. So now I have a very interesting question here. Before I take the question, I also want to give you some. There's two perspective here. This particular slides. We specifically, Rajiv and I discussed. We pointed out 2 things: people and technology. Because I have, as you know, we run a regulatory compliance technology company. We have a regular GCMS as the product. Many of you must be using it also. Moment it comes to IT laws, data protection regulations, and their compliances, I always, talk with a disclaimer, because that is something which is the approach to an IT, regulations, data protection, cybersecurity regulations, and their compliances is very different. You have to marry technology and people and culture and processes also all the time. It cannot just be it cannot be a tick box exercise. I have done my PF filing, I'm good. Okay. It cannot happen. You are not doing any filing in IT Act. They're not expecting you to do any filing. What they expect you to do, this is something you have to ensure to how to happens. Now, this is where the culture and risk, and the top down approach, as Rajiv mentioned, plays a very important role. Satish, you mentioned, you raised a point. Yes, see, this is a challenge with every organization today. There are too many processes. There are too many people. There are too many, interest areas. It's difficult to run, to bring them all on the same page. But take an example of a country also. There are too many political parties, yet there are some departments, there are some functions which are expected to run independent of everything. Now, within the organization also, there are certain functions which should run irrespective of what's happening in the organization. So it has to be directly under the governance of the top boss. Now, here sometimes when such changes are happening right now in the country, in the world, and in the technology field, if the top management is also not fully buying this logic, I think you have to bring an external consultant also to be able to help them understand how it can impact your business. Because sometimes we don't even know how it is going to impact me. We are, as Rajesh showed it, I'm not aware, in the ostrich approach, I don't see it. I'm not in a threat. No, it's not that way. Bring somebody, do an independent assessment, go to the top level, then convince them how it is, it may impact you. Because one incident can destroy everything. It's not that, you don't file up GST in 1 month and you will have to pay a few thousand and lakhs rupees fine. one cyber incident can destroy the company also. So it has to be taken in a very different approach, and maybe sometimes bringing a consultant from outside could help better.
Right. So how are we have discussed what are the pain areas, problem areas. Now, how do you fix it? What is the solution? I think this is how I'm trying to put in across for your cyber resiliency, how to improve. See, this is a vicious circle. There's no start point and an end point because you're building up your risk assessment. Then you have to build your strategy. Then you have to build your select solutions. And then you have to do an organization design and train your employees, deploy and monitor. And then sixth is again reassess and again improve upon it and go on to it. And again, then do the risk assessment and keep on going in for it. So this is very important. You need to have your risk and impact analysis, compelling business needs. You need to see it. How do you build your strategy, taking into different risk, your prioritized plans, your organization's policies, what is the control framework you want to bring in. You need to do that. And mind you, you need tools to do all of that. Select solutions, right solutions, appropriate tools and services which can meet your requirements. It should not be going overboard, which could meet your requirements, which should be flexible to configure your requirements, work with you, so on. And then you also need to have your organization design. And over here, can you click, please? The organization design. And so this is how you try to bring in the culture, train people, do that, and then deploy and monitoring everything what you're putting into play, monitoring it with frequency reports and so on. This is how you try to do it. As I mentioned, no start point and an end point. It's an ever evolving. You do your risk assessments quarterly, half yearly, at least you need to reassess your risk and need to change and improve, because in between there could be some incidents, there could be some impacts coming in which could change your assessments, or controls could not be working that well, so you need to improve upon it. So it's an ongoing process. Now, these are the famous myths about people. Oh, GRC, a governance, risk and compliance solution, it is only meant for bigger organization, corporate organization. No, absolutely. It's not just for large organization or heavily regulated sector. Yes, banking, financial services, insurance companies are highly regulated, but it doesn't mean other industries are not having regulations. You can use that. Again, GRC is only about compliance. That's also wrong. It does a lot of other areas which I just mentioned about here, and it doesn't guarantee immunity against risk events if you're just using GRC compliance, right? And again, hinders business agility, slowing down my processing and stifling innovation. Some questions came into that. It's not that. I think GRC is done if it in a right manner. It brings in the GRC culture from your lower person employee, from an intern to your CEO to the board. Everybody, if it is part of the GRC, it will help the organization bring in the GRC culture out here, right? GRC is too expensive and takes too long to implement. No, you have to look in for modern tools which are on low code, no code application platform, which can be implemented in weeks, not months. I'm talking about quickly. It should be up and running. Whatever you need should be there, and you're up and running quickly. Then only you can get a return on your investment, get in your management buy-in. So please look at that. It's very important when you're considering GRC, how they can adapt to your processes and requirements, rather not they forcing you to adapt to their process and requirements. So you have to be very careful when you are doing or selecting a GRC player. And of course, for India, pricing is important. You need to look into that aspects also. And again, GRC implementation is not a one-time activity. As I mentioned, it's an ongoing process. It's a journey that really never ends. As I told you, it's a vicious circle which you keep on improving upon it, and it proactively helps you to bring a resilient organization out here. Next slide, please.
Rajeev, on this slide, I just want to ask you one question. See, you have been in this industry for so many years. You've seen the challenges of the other countries when when the organization started implementing, or those economies started implementing a GRC softwares in the very initial years.
Yep.
What were the initial challenges? How the organizations and the economies overcame those initial challenges? Because you rightly mentioned, sometimes these myths of GRC are very expensive, or it's not for me. These are common myths, common discussion, in a board meeting. It's
Yep.
for the big organizations only. That I also have heard. We are too small. We don't even need a, GRC.
Correct.
What
I
what what
think, yeah, I think the regulators force the organizations to go on for the solution, because then the organization very quickly realized no more they can use Excel sheets and Word documents to do a GRC program or even to manage risk. Today, if you ask me, Rajiv, who's your biggest competition when it comes to GRC, I say Microsoft Office, because many organizations still are doing things in Excel and Word. How many organizations still have managed their risk and control library in Excel? So what? So the challenges they initially faced was lot of things were in silos, and Microsoft Office productivity tools. Bringing in that was a challenge. Again, GRC is what GRC today was not GRC 10 years back. What was the focus? It started with SOX compliance. SOX compliance, which came in, people wanted to be compliant with that. That's where the GRC entry started. Then you started looking at compliance, you started looking at risk, then you start looking at audit and so on. So it slowly progressed and it has become a GRC beast today. So what the challenges were, people were saying how to do it. Say they took baby steps, they automated one area, then moved into another area, then into another area, and then brought in the GRC culture out there. So I think those were the thing, and it's an advantage for a country like India, like US and Europe guys. They have to go through the grind. You didn't had a complete solution at that moment also. So slowly, new things came in, technology came in, they have to adapt, move into it. Now we have an advantage where you can automate your risk, audit, compliance, business continuity, information security, cyber all at one go. You don't have to go into the silos. That's the advantage you have it. Of coming late also into the game is also at times placed to your advantage. So I think that's where is what it is important. It's only the mind. And if you change the mindset, you can go it. And as I told you, the product should be flexible. Now, currently, your pain area is compliance. Just start the GRC with the compliance module. We will be able to help you with that. Just take one module. Then you want for risk, you can take risk. Then you can bring in audit. Then you can bring in information security, so on. So it's in your GRC journey. You start your GRC journey somewhere, which whatever is your pain area, and don't go with a big bang approach. That will be too much of a thing for an organization to handle at one go. Go take baby steps. If you're coming in from an automation tools like Office and other stuff, take baby steps and then move slowly, put into it, implement it, show the return to the management. Once you get the buy-in, and then you can add on additional module, right? Right?
and the one thing I want to add to what Raji said, the most important aspect here is, and this is something I always propagate to my clients also. See, don't be over ambitious in the beginning. Take smaller baby steps, but get a buy-in from the top. The buy-in from the management is the most important thing, because when you are embarking a journey of automation, specifically in GRC, where it is not just a one department, one function who is not alone going to make any difference. You have to involve the entire organization. If you do not have a buy-in, the blessings on the top, these initiatives will never be successful. You are bound to make some mistakes. You will have some failures. So if there is the organization backing is not there, these failures can sometimes lead to saying no to these kind of technologies and these kind of initiatives. So take small steps, learn from your initial mistakes, and then go on. Because the next step could be much bigger than the first one.
So how do we help you out? We can address the RBI, the SEBI regulations, or any India regulations, which Jyant mentioned. What are your key requirements? How we can help it out? We have mentioned here. I'm not going to read this out. The slides will be available for you. So whatever you need, whatever we have been talking, whatever we have been preaching out here, we have solutions, technology solutions to take care of that and help you out in your problem pain area to be rectified. Now, I'll just give you a glimpse. I'm not going to run through my product demo. I cannot do that. I'm just going to give you a glimpse, because seeing is believing it. So you can
Rajiv,
yeah.
Rajiv, so we're going to take 10, 5, 7 extra or more minutes. I just want a quick thumbs up from everyone if you're okay with that.
Yeah. Can you see thumbs up or thumbs down?
Okay, yeah, I don't see much of a thumbs up and downs. Great. Yes, we can see some rolling up.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so thank you. Just wanted this. So Rajiv, yeah, let's look at.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to leave, thank you. Thanks for your time and for the patience listening, but who are standing by, just have a look at it, what I'm trying to show you, so you can believe what I'm trying to show you out here. This is what is my GRC toolbox, and we will meet your shoestring budgets also. Don't worry on the pricing. So this is my incidents which are happening across my globe. Wherever my entities are, I can see it on the map. If it is India, I have India presence in different states, my offices, production, manufacturing units, what incidents are happening, when are the incidents happening, how many are resolved, open, escalated. I can see that out here. I can see my overall risk stature for the organization. So that's very important, because your management would like to see, guys, what are you doing on the risk? First of all, they need to know what are the risks your organizations are facing, and how many are high risk, how many are medium risk, low risk, and you can have your org structure. So example, this is Tata. So you can say Tata Sons or Tata Group at a top level. Then I want only TCS. I want only particular locations, any divisions. I can drill down, drop down. Your top management will say, guys, don't show us the laundry list of your risks. Just show me what are my top 20 risks by financial impact, reputational impact, or by probability. I will be able to see that out here. And if they want to see, if you're following a 3x3, 4x4, whatever is your risk maturity, if you want to see what are your overall risk from strategic, operational, compliance, financial, where the risks are staged, what is there, and you want to check in on the side your risk register, what type of a risk it is, what is the rating, inherent and residual, what are the controls you have put to mitigate those risks. You will be able to see that. You can drill down into any particular risk out here. If I click what this risk is, it mentions who's handling it, what is the status of it. I can see that out here. And you can basically drill down into the risk and manage all types of risk out here. And the tool also has your internal controls, business continuity, as I mentioned, information security, IT risk, IT compliance, data protection, as I mentioned, regulatory compliance, policies, third-party risk management, contract management, internal audit. We have the AI part of it also into it, environment, health and safety, ESG reporting, if you're looking at quality management and business process management, all incorporated into the product. I can see my risk detail, what the risk detail is all about. You can see it out here, what type of a category of risk it is. You can have your categories and subcategories. You can have it out here, and then it can show you your assessments. What are your inherent and residual risk ratings? You can see it based on the values. It can change high rating, medium, low, whatever is your risk algorithms. You can define it. Treatment, how you want to treat this risk. You want to transfer, accept, reduce, avoid, the 4 T's of ISOs. You can have it out here. What action items you want to put to mitigate this risk, what control frameworks you want to do it. You can select your control framework from your control library, and it can bring in your control libraries out here. You can create a new controls also, and you will be able to monitor your risk, how frequently you want it, how the notification should come, how the risks are linked to any of your audit finding. The risk is linked to a process, to a sub process. It is linked to your policy. It is linked to any asset from an IT risk or a cyber risk. It is linked to which asset finding, so on. You will be able to manage and monitor all that out here into the systems out here. We have the AI chat also, which can help you out, bringing in the controls to be defined for particular risk out here. We have everything covered out here for you from a business continuity point of view. If you're looking at what are my BIs, what are my plans looking like, I'll be able to see all those reports out here, including BIs, business continuity strategy, links for it, BIA status, all of that, process by criticality, RTOs, MTPODs, all I'll be able to see that out here. And since we were talking about cybersecurity, now in the system, because each of your department will look from a different lens. When an IT guy is looking, he's not interested in your strategic financial risk. He says, don't show that even to me. I'm interested just in my information security risk. What are my information security risk? What are my those risks I would like to see it out here? And how am I risk linked to an asset? I need to look into those aspects. And how is my data privacy data protection looking like? I want to see it. What are my CIA values? Confidentiality, integrity, availability. I need to see that what are my total assets, which assets needs more protection. I need to have a look on those aspects out here. We'll be able to see all that out here into the systems. And we do absolutely detailed assessments out here, because when you're using information security management, it is very important that you have to follow different ISO standards or your NIST frameworks and so on. So I'll just show it to you out here. How do we try to bring in different regulations out here? And I will just show you one thing out here is how you can see your assessment, how you do your assessment, how are you compliant with it. You can see it, what is your documentation completion, your evidence, how much of it you have implemented. And if you want to see that into a report, it can generate beautiful reports for you. And so you can have any assessment. This I'm just showing you from an ISO 27001, 27002 perspective. What is my report from a documentation, implementation concept? What is my overall compliance level? I'll be able to see it, and then I can go into in granular levels and so on into it. So any regulations, basically, if you're talking about, we can do it. I will just show you one important cyber related incident also. Different regulations in the countries are using our solution. So I will just try to show it to you out here one more. So if I am just going in for this assessment, and if you want to see what are my cyber readiness report, it's not there here in this. So you can have different the regulations could have different section. What is your oversight, cyber risk management, cyber risk assessment, compliance, so on. And you can then fill up and answer them to those, and then it can tell you where your readiness reports looks like. You will be able to get your cyber readiness reports also like this. And in each of the section A will have 10 questions. You have answered 5 or 6, and it automatically calculates and gives you a score. This you're qualifying it. You are compliant, it shows you green. Others you're in amber, others you're in red. That means you're not doing anything, or you don't have enough policies are not there to complete that. So you can get all that out here. So I won't take much time. Just wanted to give you whatever we have been preaching, whatever we have been talking about. We have a detailed product out here which covers all that. So, and again, we can meet your shoestring budgets, as I told you. If you need detailed demos, please reach out to us. We'll be able to arrange that. That's what I wanted to, in the interest of time, give you a glimpse at how technology can help you out on whatever we have been talking for the last 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajeev. That is super quick. As you always do, you increase excitement for everyone. You've been able to do that.
And my last slide. So we all are working. We are flying while fixing. So a team efforts towards organization resilience. Everybody is having a piece. How do we put it together and make it running? That is all what is important out here. Over to you, Jyant. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
lastly, as I mentioned, I showed you in the product. This is our product modules. We have 12 modules. You can pick and choose whichever modules you want. You just want to start with risk or compliance or data protection, whichever module. You can start with one module also. We will help you out. Thank you.
See, as I just want to simply conclude this. Today, cyber resilience, data protection is no longer just a good to have strategy for the organization. It is a mandatory to have a policy, because it's under the law. Everything is getting automated. Everything is connected. You run a machine in your factory also. You run a machine. You have online a business, or you run a restaurant also. Everything is connected. You may possibly in a restaurant also, you're using some small ERPs. It could be a single restaurant also. So there are some SaaS application you're using. Your data is on the cloud also. You're taking name of the your customers also, and the mobile numbers. Every business is, to the largest of our Fortune 500 to the smallest, everybody is connected. Every business is connected. The laws are there. There are SEBI regulations, there are RBI regulations. Obviously, your regulatory entities. That then obviously these regulators are much more careful about you. There are dpdpa, which is just around the corner. You have to put a mechanism, you have to put a policy process using a technology which is long lasting, which is not people dependent, which is something a process oriented independent, where any risk, any information can be taken out, can be understood in absence of anyone. So the time has come for us as a country also. And good thing, as Rajiv said, the good thing about India is we sometimes miss one technology change. It happened with us when pagers were launched. India never invested heavily in pagers. India could move from a phone to a mobile immediately, because we never invested much in pagers. The world invested. Same, I think it happens here. The world invested in GRC technology. They mature the technologies, the platforms, and the processes. It's time for us to adopt them. So understand what's happening in the world, and then I think it is the right time for us to start looking at how we implement them in our organization. So with this, I want to conclude. You have the coordinates. You can of Rajiv also. Rajiv here. You want to reach out. You want to have a conversation. You want to understand how where your organization is, how different technologies, processes can help you. Lagna is here. If you sorry, I we didn't have we don't have Lagna's coordinates here. But you can always feel free to reach out. We can connect you with Lagna as well. Uh, to understand how your policy frameworks or audits can happen, so that from a cyber resilience perspective, your board, your organization are both secure. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. And once again, Rajiv, thank you so much
Thank you.
for the session today. Thanks, Lagna.
Thank
This
you.
was
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.